No, you kill the franchise, and that's, when you guys worked on Modern Warfare 3, I think that was one of the challenges. It's like, Activision had a problem, they needed you guys to come in and help them, and to keep that quality level up, because that's what the fans demand. You can't have a game that drops.
But Capcom doesn't have the internal teams anymore. They just don't have those internal teams. But they are good at getting external teams together, right? I think Lost Planet 3 looks like it could be really successful, and I'm super gung-ho for Remember Me. Right. And those aren't internal teams, but those are new IP. Well, not new IP obviously on Lost Planet, but Remember Me is new IP, and it looks fantastic. Right. And they're taking Lost Planet 3 in a whole different direction with Spark. And I think that is them being a good publisher and finding ways to be successful, although they don't have internal teams anymore on the scope of, Activision's lucky. You guys got a lot of good internal teams. Yeah. There's a lot of guys to bring out of the dugout.
Well, that's the thing is, there are fewer, independent third-party studios out there. Yeah. Usually if you're good, you end up getting bought by a publisher after making a good game or not. But I just wonder.
Could delay a couple of those games as well.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Fuse maybe gets pushed out a little bit.
Well, the challenge I think everyone will face, though, is with the new machines potentially coming, it's like, how far can you push? Right. And you look at even Grand Theft Auto 5, which is probably going to be, probably one of the biggest games next year. Coming in the spring, what happens if they're not done? Can they push it to the fall? Can they push it to the next year? Or when does it start to cross?
They can push that game to wherever they want to. That thing looks ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's so ambitious, though, right? And it's like, can they finish it for the spring? Is that the game that is the game to beat? For next year, do we think?
It could be. It looks like a great game. It depends if it does come out at that time, and then what else. Do you want to push it off till Christmas, not knowing what's coming out then?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just amazing how much stuff I think is coming from third parties, and the industry this year is certainly down sales wise. Everyone's heard the the numbers and the general feeling that there's not as much excitement in the industry. But I feel like the first 6 months of next year, can be insane, right? You look across the industry, every third-party publisher has some really big bets, I think, that they're firing off.
It's tough early and late year. I'm looking at the end of this year, and here's Far Cry 3, which by all accounts is one of the best games of 2012, but it's going to find a hard sell getting mentioned because it's coming out so late. And then we're going to go back and try and remember Mass Effect 3, and there's all this revisionist history now of oh, I hated the ending, or I liked the ending, or they did this, or they did that. And there's that window, there between, say, the end of August and the middle of November where the critical eye and the attention of the public is right there. And so if you're Grand Theft Auto, can you overcome that? Probably, but if you're anybody else?
That's my worry, is that a lot of these publishers are struggling right now, and there's so many huge bets firing off in the first 6 months of next year. Inevitably, they're going to be some of those games.
Where are the games? What are we going to play for the last half of next year?
You'll have to go to E3 to find out.
Yeah. And I wonder also with, these publishers, there are going to be some heartbreaks, I think, where, some of these games are not going to sell for publishers, and some of them that are struggling now, how many, games can they afford to not deliver? Even here, THQ talking about how Darksiders didn't deliver for them, and that was, never a game that I think was going to be a blockbuster seller, but, Lost Planet 3, it might be great, but is that really going to deliver big numbers for Capcom? I wonder. And gamers are going to have, you think it's tough this year, and next year when you're picking between BioShock and Tomb Raider and then God of War, and there's a lot of games to buy in a season when typically, we're not buying tons of games.
Yeah. Well, Capcom, I don't know what the numbers were on Resident Evil 6, but
very good. They've done very well with it.
Because what scared me was the score.
Right.
Right, and that's what we look at. The developers is the score, and I know that sometimes you get a score like that, and they may not make another one.
Right.
And that's always been scary,
it's tough because and people always say it's like a low-scoring game. People might buy the current one, but where it hurts you is with the next one, because then people buy it and they're disappointed. Then Resident Evil 7, they might think twice about it. So
I didn't think it was a score, God.
Right. All right, well, that's it for the bonus round in 2012. Glenn, thanks for coming down from San Francisco.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Great to have you on the show. Shane, as always, it's a pleasure. Garnet, happy holidays.
Thanks, sir. Happy
New Year, and we will see you guys in January for an all-new episode of the bonus round.
See this and other GT shows and game reviews on the GT Originals iOS app, available now on the App Store.